Hello there, welcome to the show. It was billed as the first Champions League final since 2013 without Messi, without Ronaldo, but it did have Divock Origi, and for that we can be thankful.
Well,
Adrian Healy with Alejandro Moreno and Craig Burley, also with us from Madrid, right outside the stadium, ready to tuck into everything. Steve Nicol and Stuart Robson. This is how it unfolded. Mo Salah's early penalty, of course, putting Liverpool on the path of a victory. They had to withstand plenty of Tottenham possession, plenty of shots on goal, most of those coming in the final 15 minutes. In the end, though, Origi's goal 2 minutes from time proved to be the capper, and Spurs will look back at what might have been. So, when Liverpool lead at half-time, well, we should have known it was all over. So the 29th instance that a half-time lead has translated into a full-time lead. And they did it when it mattered most. Let's get reactions from right outside the stadium, first of all. Stevie Nicol, talk us through the 90 minutes. Wasn't a thing of beauty from a Liverpool perspective by any means, was it? But I'm sure you didn't care.
No, this at the end of the day, it's the result that matters most. Disappointing game, but for Liverpool, in some ways, I think Liverpool scoring so early kind of hindered them, because they then didn't have to go forward. They didn't take any risks, and so the onus was basically on Spurs. And Spurs, they couldn't put two passes together, so they never looked like breaking Liverpool down until the last 15 minutes when you really...
Hello there, welcome
you just
to the
have to
show.
throw
Yes,
everything
the
in the kitchen sink at it, then they kind of look dangerous. But as far as football, I mean, Tottenham were awful. They couldn't get the ball to the front, guys. They couldn't get it through the middle because Winks was going backwards with it every time, and you've got Sissoko who wants to run with it every time. So, I mean, Spurs... I thought Spurs were awful, and Liverpool really didn't have to exert themselves too much to win this game.
Stuart, why did we see the sort of game that we saw? So many passes going astray, no rhythm, no sharpness. Why was it like that?
Yeah, well, I think Liverpool decided they weren't going to press the ball too high up the field. They were going to try and let Spurs have easy possession and then win it back in midfield. And how they scored the first goal, got the penalty, was by playing the ball straight in behind Trippier, and Mane got in behind. That caused it, and that's what they were looking for all the time. And that forward ball wasn't particularly good. Salah made run after run after run. The ball wasn't quite ready for him, or wasn't quite in his path. They tried to play on the counter-attack, and it didn't really work. And as for Spurs, I disagree with Stevie. They had a lot of possession. They actually passed it quite nicely. But that's what they did nicely. They didn't get it into the front players with any penetration. They kept the ball for the sake of keeping the ball. How many times did Vertonghen and Alderweireld keep passing it backwards and forwards? And as Stevie said, it goes into Harry Winks. Harry Winks passes it backwards. There was no sharpness or penetration about Tottenham whatsoever.
Well, that all adds up then, Robbo, to being a poor performance from Tottenham, really. I mean, when you think about it, you know, Liverpool, you know, we can... Possession for what? Possession has to have a purpose. And I was surprised at Liverpool. Listen, let's put it one way. Liverpool were so off colour. They've just won the Champions League, by the way. They just won Europe's elite competition and deserved to after the season they've had. They were so off colour by their standards. That's how poor Tottenham were, right? They couldn't even really, apart from a couple of saves from Alisson second half, they couldn't cause this Liverpool team that looked lacklustre and a little bit more disjointed than they normally are, a little bit lacking of energy that they normally have. And Spurs, for all the possession, didn't really cause that many problems. And I go back to the other point, is Harry Kane, right? Now, Harry Kane didn't do anything wrong, but he didn't do much right. He clearly wasn't fit. And the fact that Tottenham needed to inject a bit of pace into the game, a bit of pace that Liverpool didn't have on this occasion, and Lucas Moura, the hat-trick hero of the semi-final, was on the bench. I actually think that was weak, man. And Pochettino's had lots of credits, Adrian. Yep. I thought that was weak management from Pochettino. He got hung on to the if Harry's fit, Harry starts brigade. And whilst that wasn't their only problem, clearly, if you have an unfit player, and by the way, a really annoyed one on the bench, who's now had to be left out after his heroics in Lucas Moura, then you've got to ask him to come on and change the game. I thought Pochettino got all that wrong.
Ali, in so many ways, we've already said it. Strange, bizarre, not the sort of final that many people were expecting. Did that early goal, the early breakthrough, the manner in which it happened, have an effect, you think?
Of course it did.
Yeah.
100% it did. Because it changed the approach for Liverpool. It's a team that, as Craig alluded to, they depend on that energy, on that intensity. You didn't see much of that at Liverpool, and part of me thinks it's because they didn't really have to. Once you score that goal, then Liverpool doesn't have to chase it anymore. Now you're forcing Spurs to say, okay, let's see if you're good enough to break us down. And the truth of the matter is that Spurs, for all the possession that they had, there wasn't anything about them that was really threatening. Heung-min Son, who has been their best player really in this run, at times was their most dangerous player, but didn't really get a whole lot of service. Dele Alli, with some of the runs out of the midfield, maybe created some confusion for Liverpool at times, but not consistently enough. As to the point of Harry Kane, largely ineffective. And what are you going to expect from a guy who hasn't been on the field for 5 to 6 weeks? That's exactly what we expected from Harry Kane, a guy who was going to be rusty. But you don't want to see it out in Champions League, not in the Champions League final. No, you don't want to take that chance then and there, because then you've put yourself in a position in which, okay, what do we do? What do we do with the substitution pattern? Do we take Harry Kane out when we're actually trailing by a goal? No, you need to keep him on the field, and it changes the way that you manage the game. For me, Liverpool did just enough. Not more than that, but part of that is because they didn't have to. Part of that is because Spurs didn't really push them to the point to where they had to do more than that. In the end, it's a game that was disappointing on many levels, and for the neutral, for people that are not involved with Spurs or Liverpool, like we are not, we don't care, we're not Stevie, we don't mind which way this goes. We can tell you objectively that it was a very poor game to watch.
Stevie, Stewie, your thoughts now, perhaps with the benefit of hindsight on the Harry Kane decision?
Well, he clearly wasn't fair, and they started with a man down. You know, we were talking earlier that they couldn't pass the ball through the middle of the park, but they really couldn't play it long either, because Harry Kane wasn't moving. He was standing right. He was trying to get in between the two centre backs, but he wasn't moving for the ball. So they basically had nowhere to go. So if you're starting the Champions League final a man down, pretty much, you're not giving yourself any help. And the other thing that I found strange as well, you've got to get somebody like Eriksen has to get in the middle of the park and get on the ball. It's no use having him wide. You know, every time he came into the centre of the field, especially later on when they changed it, they looked a little dangerous. But you can't play a guy who's not fit, and you can't have the one guy in your team that's capable of opening up a defence. You can't have him wide, not for me.
They had to have some runs in behind. Harry Kane made no runs whatsoever to run in behind. He was standing still. At times he was on the offside line and was still going back in. There was one ball that would have hurt Liverpool time and time again. It was when Song made a run from outside to in, and he tried to get in behind Alexander-Arnold. And then Dele Alli went out there. But they didn't play that ball enough. There was a couple of times I think Dele Alli headed it back down into a dangerous area. That was the ball that was going to hurt Liverpool, but they didn't have enough runners, and the two centre-halves didn't play the ball quick enough.
Craig, just overall, big picture, why was this game so bereft of adrenaline, energy, urgency, all the things, the high pressing, all the things we've come to expect from these two teams?
I don't have the answer. The semi-finals were magnificent, beyond expectation, just absolutely magnificent spectacles, and this was awful. I mean, it was awful. Liverpool won't care, they've won the Champions League again, and you know, adding to the history of this great football club. But the actual game, I can't explain it. You know, listen to some in the commentary. There's been a break between the league finishing, FA Cup final, and this. But then that's giving players a chance to rest and recuperate, which we keep hearing. You know, there's not enough rest and recuperation for players. That's why they're not playing well. Then they had some, allowed players to come back from injury. I suppose the occasion's part of it as well. And as Stevie mentioned, the fact that Liverpool took the lead so early and then were able to say, well, listen, let's not get caught too many times out of position here. We'll just sit in a little bit deeper. We'll allow Van Dijk to control and talk and read the game, and we're going to play maybe a different kind of game. And Liverpool didn't chase it, and normally Liverpool are going for the throat, and they didn't have to on this occasion.
See, usually Liverpool is the aggressor. It's the team that is getting in your face. It's the team that is getting numbers around the ball and creating turnovers out of the midfield, and from there transitioning forward. But once you score that early, you say, well, I don't think they're good enough to beat us. I don't think they can break us down. And over the course of 90 minutes, Spurs were not good enough to break them down. And it just felt the early goal in some ways ruined the game. Now, Liverpool couldn't care less. They'll be like, well, we'd like to score an early goal, and who wouldn't? But again, for the neutral, the early goal really changed the character of the game, the nature of the game, and then it shifted the game and the responsibility of possession, the responsibility of creativity, the responsibility of having the game on their terms to Spurs, and Spurs proved not to be good enough today.
I think this puts to bed, or it should, it might not, because there are some real clowns out there. But for those clowns, and they know who they are talking about Jurgen Klopp and, you know, Pochettino's done a great job at Tottenham with less resources and no money spent, basically, in the summer. But for those that were saying, well, Liverpool, you know, Klopp hasn't won a trophy this, he hasn't done this, he's not doing that. The progression of this club has been excellent. Has been nothing but upward since he came in, culminating in a wonderful season which took one of the best, if not one of the greatest squads, Man City, all the way to a point. So to get the Champions League now and get a trophy like he did at Dortmund, I think should have some of those scallies that say, you know, there's been people at times, there's a couple of people who have rung in radio stations want Jurgen Klopp sacked when they didn't win the league. That's what you're dealing with.
Clownsville.
But let's not forget that when we were sitting here a year ago and Liverpool had lost to Real Madrid, a valid question then was, well, was this their chance? Was this their opportunity? And was this a wasted opportunity, the fact that they could not get past Real Madrid? And how difficult it must have been for Jurgen Klopp, to your point, Craig, that you get this team back here, back to this occasion, back to this stage, and that you're able to deliver. That, to me, is even more impressive. It's not that they won it this year. It's the fact that they were here last year and were able to work their way back to this point and to be able to finish through that, what it is a tremendous accomplishment.
Do you know what's the most impressive thing I've heard tonight? Stevie's voice.
Oh.
I mean, if anybody's looking for voiceovers, there's a man with a croaky voice somewhere in Madrid waiting.
Stevie, can you confirm you've been shouting at loud volume?
Yeah, I was getting a little testy at times in the second half, I'm going to be honest with you.
He wasn't very happy when Origi came on and misplaced a couple of passes. He was quite happy when he scored his goal, though.
Oh,
we've seen the
absolutely.
video.
I've never seen a man 16 foot tall who's scared to head the ball.
He scored!
No, he certainly had his moments. He certainly had his moments.
It was
a great goal too.
People are talking about Tottenham and how it's a good learning curve. I heard some commentators say it's a good learning curve and they'll get better for this. But how worrying, I wonder, is it for Tottenham Hotspur now that, you know, Pochettino's a man in demand? Can they keep paying the wages? Are they going to match clubs? Will Harry? I mean, is it a learning curve for Tottenham, or is this
the curve?
Or is this Tottenham's big chance?
Yeah, right.
And now we're going to see maybe the manager possibly going, guys, and maybe one or two of the star players, Robbo, leaving as well.
Boys?
They have.
Yeah, I think there's one or two problems at Spurs. Dele Alli's not playing anywhere near what he can do, and I'm not sure at the moment he looks as though he's going to get any better. Trippier is a player that looks as though he's going to be on the move. They're relying on a midfield of, not tonight, but Wanyama's been playing in midfield. Sissoko, who's powerful but not particularly technical player. Harry Winks, who couldn't find a forward pass to save his life today. He was always going backwards. I think we counted about 95% of his passes went backwards. Some of the other players, Ericsson looks as though he could be on his way. Vertonghen and Alderweireld are getting that little bit older. This was Tottenham's big chance. They're going to have to buy some players, and they're going to have to keep Pochettino if they are to stay in that top four.
That's the only chance they have of progressing, is by buying. The problem is, if there's one team that you know don't go out of their way to spend money, it's Tottenham. So this is a big summer for them. If they don't buy anybody in the summer, anybody of note to add to this team, I think this team will go downhill.
Well, Liverpool can add 2019 to other famous years such as 2005 and 1984 that Stevie was a big part of. Their sixth Champions League or European Cup victory, only AC Milan and Real Madrid ahead of them. Of course, the big talking point of the game, the Sissoko handball after 23 seconds. This is Roberto Rossetti, the UEFA chief refereeing officer. He was actually speaking back in January about the introduction of VAR, but he was asked to clarify the handball rule. And he said this: when the arm totally out of the body, above the shoulder, it should be penalised. If the defender is making the body bigger in order to block the ball, it is not fair. It's different if the defender is challenging or playing the ball and it rebounds. But if he's looking to block a cross or a shot on goal and the player is trying to spread his body, then it is a handball. That was the directive given to referees back in January. upon the introduction of VAR. So having taken that into account, was it a penalty, Craig?
Yes, but
Yeah.
I mean, I think the grey area for a lot of people is the fact it came off part of the body first, but up in the arm. But I think the arm is so extended that I think that clarifies the fact that it's a penalty kick. And you know, I think he was trying to point somebody.
He was trying to point.
He was trying to say something. You stay with your man. You stay with
yeah.
that, and I've got this. But unfortunately, the arm was so far extended that it was a penalty.
Give us a percentage, Ali, on whether that was or wasn't.
100%, it's a penalty.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't be doing this.
No.
And the arm out there, inside the 18-yard box, it hits your arm. What do you think is going to happen? It's going to be a penalty. And people say, well, back in the old day, back in the new day, handball 2.0. This was a handball 20 years ago, 50 years ago, now, and it'll be a handball for years to come as well. Yeah. It's a handball.
Well, there was a lot of debate online. Stevie and Stuart, did you see it the same way?
Well, we didn't see much when it first happened. We've seen, obviously, the replays. And as everybody said, his arm is out. It hit his body first, then hit his arm. And under the current laws, that's handball. So, in some ways, you see it as harsh, but it's handball under the current laws.
Stevie?
I've got to tell you, I'm not going to say one. I'm going to tell you that had it not been given, I would not have been crying that Liverpool didn't get a penalty.
You were screaming, handball, handball, as soon as it hit him on the arm.
Not at all. Honestly.
Come on, ref. Come on, ref.
I can honestly stand here and tell you that if it hadn't been given, I wouldn't have been crying about it. I mean, it's the law now is so confusing. You know, it's come off his chest and hit his arm. I thought that meant it wasn't a penalty, but seemingly whatever his name was that you spoke about there says it's a penalty. So I'm a little confused the way the rules are now, but for me, if it hadn't been given, I wouldn't have had a problem with it.
That was Roberto Rossetti.
That guy.
Yeah, that guy.
Whoever he is. That bloke. Whoever he is.
Stevie,
Yeah.
Virgil van Dijk and Alisson, obviously, looking back and comparing Liverpool's final 12 months ago in Kiev, they have made some difference, haven't they?
Absolutely phenomenal. I said to Robert 2 minutes ago, I said, you know, yes, he had to make some saves, but he never looked as though anything was going to beat him. I mean, he didn't put a foot wrong. His distribution was fantastic. And he just looks so calm. I mean, he looks as though he could smoke a cigar while he's in goals. And his partner in front of him, Van Dijk.
Yeah.
I mean, the one time I thought Son had actually done him in the penalty box, and he just changed gear, made the challenge and gave a corner away. I mean, the two of them have been nothing short of phenomenal, no question.
Stevie, he fills the goal, didn't he? We've talked about it. Sorry, Robert, we've talked about it and the fact that you know, I've not seen Alisson actually in the flesh being at a game, but I don't know what it looked like for you guys there, but he just looks such a massive physical presence in that goal.
Yeah.
Far more than Lloris up the other end. Yeah, he looks a massive presence. He held on to everything that came his way. When he had to push it round the post, he pushed it round the post. He made good decisions. He made good decisions on the ball as well. You know, and that's what Karius didn't do last year. His all-round game was excellent. Good saves, good decisions, and also comfortable on the ball, and just has that little bit of presence about him.
The play didn't come off in the end, but there was one distribution by Alisson on a half volley to Mohamed Salah down the right-hand side that created a counter-attack for Liverpool that just gives you an idea of what he can give you, similar to what Ederson does for Manchester City. The play that Stevie's talking about with Virgil van Dijk and Heung-min Son is not only impressive that he was able to make the tackle, but how many times you see center-backs with a rash slide tackle, with a clumsy slide tackle. He doesn't even have to slide. He gets there, gets his body into position with a change of pace, gets there, clears out the danger, and that's it. And it's game over, and you're not going to get past me. And, oh, by the way, all that feeling of security, of confidence, that permeates throughout the team. You know you have those guys back there. You know you don't have to be perfect in front of them, because if in trouble, they're gonna take care of it. And when they do, you're fine. It's all right. We move forward.
So Liverpool went from tears to triumph in the space of 12 months. Spurs, of course, will be looking to get their name on this list. Teams that have gone as runners-up to reach the following final. Bayern Munich did it in 2013 after their 12 disaster. Valencia, Juventus and AC Milan. So it's happened 5 times now in the Champions League era. So as Divock Origi slotted in Liverpool's second, this was the reaction at the Liverpool fan zone on Merseyside. I imagine there was probably something similar inside the stadium, even amongst our party as well. Dan Thomas has got Steve and Stuart with him. Dan, just sum up the sense of occasion and the atmosphere for us.
Well, incredible scenes, of course, in Liverpool. Was it just me, boys, or was the atmosphere not quite as electric as maybe you would expect for such a heavyweight clash?
I thought it was very disappointing. Yeah. You know, I was expecting a great atmosphere. We were sitting mainly up the Liverpool end, and they made some noise at the start of the game, but I think they were disappointed with the way their team were playing. I think they were anxious at times. The Spurs fans at the other end, I didn't think made a great deal of noise. As a whole occasion, it was disappointing. The game was disappointing. The atmosphere was disappointing. It didn't really have all the things we expected.
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple of bursts, obviously, when the penalty's given and the goal goes in and the second goal.
That was just from you.
But in between that, there was a couple of little moments where everybody got excited.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it was to do with the players. The players gave the fans absolutely nothing to get excited about. And so those little pockets of atmosphere only happened when something happened on the field. And when you have such a bad game, a lot of the time you end up with not the best atmosphere, and you really can't say that.
And it's interesting because I was obviously watching the fans leave as you were doing the first piece, and even then there were the pockets again of singing, but it was almost just relief in the end from the Liverpool fans.
I would say the Liverpool fans expected victory tonight.
Right.
So they were just, as you said, relieved that they got the victory, relieved that they didn't have to suffer what they did last year. They were expected to win the game. Klopp was expected to win the game and win his first trophy for Liverpool. So as you say, supporters going away not in a great sort of party atmosphere.
No, but I think it will increase now. And when they go into town, obviously, and the beer start flowing, I think...
Are you talking about him or everybody?
I think it's anyone involved with Liverpool.
Listen, I can assure you that's exactly what I felt.
Yeah.
Relief.
Yeah.
I mean, the last 20 minutes of the game, I was all over the place. So, yeah, relief.
Man of the match, then. Who would you have given it to?
Man of the match, I think Alisson was decent, but you have to go with Van Dijk.
Imagine Dragons, did you like them early doors?
No, you've lost me there.
That was the band that sang.
Oh, no, I didn't like them. They were hopeless. we were annoyed with them, weren't we?
Why were you annoyed with them?
Well, the players have had their warm-up, the crowd's getting excited, and then you have that band on. What was all that about? No, Van Dijk was outstanding.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
Yeah, Van Dijk and Alisson. No question. I mean,
That's two.
We'll give it to both of them then.
Okay.
They can
I don't think you're allowed to do that.
They can share it.
Yeah.
No, they cruised through this game, the both of them.
The very first corner that Spurs had, Van Dijk heads it 20 yards out the box. He said, cross it all day long, he'll head it out. Then the one he's talking about when Song ran beyond, or looked as though he was going to run beyond Van Dijk, and Van Dijk just opened up his legs and got it away. He marshalled that defence really well.
Aid, back to you in the studio, mate.
I did hear that I didn't hear it, thankfully, but I was gauging online that the pre-match entertainment was absolutely horrendous.
Imagine Dragons.
And then,
we can name and shame.
Unfortunately, that carried on into the game. As somebody very cleverly pointed out in our production, it wasn't me, that don't go to Atletico Madrid Stadium and expect an exciting game.
Yes.
Because that's not what happens there.
Not when they take the lead. It's locked
Liverpool morphed into Atletico Madrid. Early lead, shut up shop, see what happens.
Different candidate for man of the match for you
Mane was all right.
Sadio Mane?
Periods, but
yeah.
Does Stevie know that Liverpool won?
He's just saving himself.
Everything's so down and out, and and I'm anxious and nervous. They won. Why am I excited? He should be excited.
No, but you know what the problem is there? The problem with Stevie is it's not the game. It's the fact now he's had at least 3 days away from his missus' home cooking. It's like it's starting to take its toll. Not a doubt about that. But I got that feeling as well. Watching Klopp at the end when Pochettino come over and give him a hug, blah blah, game done. Very classy from both managers. But we didn't see even, and I'm sure it'll kick in later on for Klopp. But we didn't see that sort of running onto the field, sort of excitement, fist pumping. That because it was a little bit, I suppose, of a dead rubber in the end, and it wasn't like 3-2 with a goal in the 89th minute. So it's a European win, but it just didn't quite feel like a European occasion.
Stevie, I think everyone was expecting dancing, but relief, is your main emotion?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, most of the second half was torture for me, and particularly the last 15 minutes when Spurs were kind of getting a sniff of goal. I mean, it was just awful. And when the second goal went in, I mean, you talk about relaxing. I mean, I think I've calmed down now, though.
Yeah. Just building up to what is to come.
Yeah, and we've got to get him out of Spain before his head gets any redder. I have to say his
well, we're not going to let him get really stuck into the centre Madrid. He's still got extra time to get stuck into. Lots of questions coming his way, I'm sure. Extra time on our YouTube channel. All your questions, or a lot of them at least, answered. Well, it was supposed to be a very joyous day all around. Started off awfully. The tragic news that Jose Antonio Reyes, the Spanish midfielder, had died in a car accident during the night. Reyes remembered so fondly by Arsenal fans, Sevilla fans, Atletico Madrid fans. He was a 5-time Europa League winner, part of the Arsenal Invincibles, a cup winner, a Champions League finalist as well. Jose Antonio Reyes, dead at the age of 35. Read all about it. The Sunday papers, the headlines, momentous, the Incredibles.
Really sold that one.
Klopp cops glory. Jurgen Klopp after those 6 final defeats. And it's the 6th Champions League or European Cup for Liverpool. The joy of 6, of course. The obvious headlines. Final thoughts on what we saw, boys, today?
Well, far from Liverpool's best performance, but I think testament to the hard work from that club and the transfer policy, the signings, and what Klopp's brought to Liverpool. I think he's brought an enthusiasm, a desire, a work ethic, and a great way of playing, and got some just rewards for it.
Everybody else outside of Liverpool and Liverpool fans, Liverpool players, anybody who's involved with this club would feel a little empty after this final. You're hoping to see much more simply because this team has shown much more in the past. Liverpool doesn't care, they'll take it. As for Spurs, it's a wasted opportunity. And I'm sorry to tell them, they ain't coming back. This is not like Liverpool last year. No, this was their chance, and it's a chance that they let slip away. And they'll be disappointed that they didn't really give a better account of themselves and really give themselves a better chance. Liverpool, they'll continue to reload, and they'll continue to be a dominant team going forward. Them and Manchester City, good luck to everybody else, because these two teams, they continue to get better.
This, by the way, just as a final note, was Spurs' 20th defeat of the season in all competitions. Quite a large number when you think about it.
Yeah.
Stick around. Extra time coming up next. We'll go back out to the boys, Stevie and Stuart and Dan Thomas in Madrid for all the reaction. It is extra time after the final that did not go to extra time.
Thank God.
Despite me
that game when I got extra time. Oh, my God, it was awful.
I thought my prediction was going to come good for a while there, just for a 10-minute period.
Why would you want that to happen?
I'm not saying I wanted it. I just thought
so that you can say, I got it right? Hey!
Just to keep you here another half an hour. That was
selfish.
I don't even think Tottenham fans wanted it.
Nope.
Dan, Stevie and Stuart are with us. Dan, how was Stevie? Simply, D-Mac wants to know, yes, how's Stevie? Question mark.
Yep. A lot of tweets asking, how are you, Stevie?
I'm all right now.
It was weird because I saw you at the final whistle and you would just look drained. You weren't like happy, you weren't jumping around, you were just like, oh, thank goodness that's over.
Well, I was just, the whole second half, I was just anxious.
Yeah.
I could just see it all falling apart.
Do you think you'll be able to celebrate okay tonight now, though? Yeah,
I can do that.
Yeah, that's a given.
That won't be a problem.
That's all right.
You should have put a Shepherd's
But we're
pie.
up early, guys. We're up. What time are we up? 6 o'clock?
Well, 4:30.
4:30, 5:30. We've got to get ready for a plane. So get your violins out, boys. I know you're very sympathetic.
Oh, yeah.
You should have put a Shepherd's pie in his lap. That would have cheered them up. Here. Why have you boys got a hit at 5:30 in the morning? Why didn't you just say...
I think there is some...
Sort of.
Well, I think there's some conversation that's ongoing at the moment regarding time difference that maybe wasn't taken into consideration.
Was that our boss here in Connecticut putting his foot down with a firm hand saying, I want this hit?
Well, this is it. When he says jump, you say how high. That's how we don't have the same sort of... what word am I looking for that Burley has?
Clout.
Argumentative streak.
I guess that's a Scottish word.
Yeah.
Clout.
Yeah, clout. Not gout.
What,
clout.
just
No, Stevie's got gout. Stevie's got gout.
I've got tablets for that.
Steve, in case anybody's listening into this show, this extra time,
I never took them today.
in case anybody's listening in, there is actually a very good remedy for clearing gout up. It's
A night in Madrid?
no, it's Prosecco. Prosecco. He switched from beer to Prosecco. It worked for a little while.
Yeah.
Or changing brands of beer. He does that one. Brands of beer. Yeah.
Well, I've changed brands, yeah. That's helping.
Next one, you boys out there, take this first. Reza, was this the worst final in the last decade? You're going to have to think back a bit, aren't you? But...
Robbo, the worst final in the last decade. What do you reckon?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, I thought the standard of football was poor. The intensity was poor. The atmosphere was poor.
Oh.
I've done the Championship playoff final. I've done the game at Wembley, the FA Cup final. Both of those were far better games than this one was tonight.
Who cares?
Hold on.
Oh, now you're starting to get there.
Who cares? There's been plenty of rotten finals. But you know what? It doesn't matter.
Not for Liverpool.
Not
It doesn't
for
matter,
Liverpool.
does it? No.
Not for me or for Liverpool. We don't really care. All
Hey,
right.
Dan,
Right.
ask Robbo how a 6-0 hammering can be a good game.
How can a 6-0 hammering be a good game? The City-Watford
Well,
match.
you saw some great football from Manchester City. The atmosphere was magnificent. The Watford fans stayed till the end, singing and chanting. It was a great atmosphere, and Man City played some extremely great football.
You're a big softy.
I am a big softie, yeah. Big softie.
You're Craig
fans stayed
dancing
around.
pre-match. What more could you want?
That wasn't the highlight, I would say.
I don't know if you've heard about this, but some idiot, I mean, what a clout, some idiot actually paid for my car parking at Wembley. You heard about that, Dan, didn't you?
And have you paid him back?
No.
Oh, okay.
What would I pay back?
That's what I heard, that you hadn't paid
He's
him
talking
back.
about your car parking.
I didn't ask him.
Oh, dear. 3 phone calls he made to me. Kept on.
We did all this
kept on.
yesterday.
Easily worst final in the decade, Ali? You haven't weighed in on this?
Oh, you really want an answer out of this?
You know,
It's hard to remember all the
Well,
finals.
look,
the Madrid
the Atletico Madrid-Real Madrid final.
in Lisbon.
Well, but then there was some late drama there.
Right,
And so
right.
then there
Most
was...
of that game was pretty bad.
Yes, but there was never drama here.
Right.
And it was done, seemingly 45 seconds.
Actually, the last final in Madrid wasn't great. The Bayern-Inter final, that was pretty
but
one-sided.
then you get teams like Inter who... you mean the one that Inter won?
Inter won 2-0.
Well,
That was
you got
Mourinho's.
Mourinho, but then
Yeah.
Inter are a side under Mourinho that sat in and soaked it all.
Yeah.
The disappointing thing from this game, from the neutral perspective, was that we had two of the best attacking teams in Europe on the field. We just didn't.
It's the expectation that you thought maybe this is going to be back and forth. It was neither back nor forth.
Yeah.
Half 5 in the morning. Half 5 in the
Let's get back to what really matters.
Not a chance. No chance.
Stevie, Jeremy wants to know how much are we paying for Origi's statue? Presumably it's starting construction very shortly.
I know how much I would pay for it.
Well, he's been your hero, Stevie. He's the reason you're here, the reason you're so excited.
I'm finding it very difficult not to be critical of him when he's just scored the second goal in the Champions League final, but he nearly cost us a goal about 3 and 4 minutes before that.
Oh, he was screaming the whole time he was on.
What,
He's useless.
Well, he nearly
Get him
cost
on.
us
What's
a
he
goal.
doing? Why is he bringing him on? He was giving it all that, and then suddenly he scores. He was a hero. Oh!
Yeah, exactly.
He chickened out a challenge 3 minutes earlier, and they broke and got a short goal.
Well, I wouldn't worry about it, Stevie, because they're airbrushing all your pictures
one,
out of Anfield and they're putting Origi's in. Here, is that true? Robbo can't hear
There
us.
won't
Is
need
it?
many copies,
Hey,
I know that.
Dan, he's got that glazed look in his eye, Robbo. Is it? I believe he can't hear us. Is it because is it because his earpiece is not working, or is he just gone deaf in his old age? Which one is it?
I think it could be a little A and a little B, and maybe the antibiotics he's been taking have really kicked in now.
Look, you can't.
I have to say, I'm so disappointed at Robo's
Let's just say
performance.
you've got a very glazed look on your face.
That's because I can't hear them. That's the reason why.
You're lucky.
Yeah.
I wish I couldn't hear them.
I am so
glazed look when
disappointed,
you were
so
talking earlier
disappointed
on.
at Robo's performance in the boat race. I was expecting so much more from him.
After the training he put in for it.
We were so
Honestly.
surprised.
Yeah.
Honestly.
He's had a poor week.
He has had a poor week.
He's
It's
not-
kind of like this game.
He's not been out drinking.
And by the way, before the match, they had a bet because I asked them, do you think Kane will start or not? And Stevie says, I bet you €10 that Kane will definitely start. Robert goes, I'll have that.
Yeah,
So he's
I
lost the boat race. He's almost this kind of horrible chest infection that he's given to everyone, and now he's lost €10 to Stevie.
And he paid for my parking.
And he's still down a parking
to pay me
ticket.
20 euros to go somewhere else, but I won't go into that.
Well, there you go.
Finally, Dan, Jonathan, amongst many eagle-eyed viewers have questioned your skin tone. Did someone get Dan some sunscreen, or is he more red than a lobster? Is Jonathan's question.
What do you mean? I look beautiful.
You look brown.
I look brown, don't I? I look good. Yeah, I look very good, actually.
Refreshed.
Yeah. You wait till they see me on the karaoke tonight with this tan.
Oh, beautiful, nice.
You're looking quite tall there, Dan, actually. You're almost the same size as Stevie. Are you on a box?
Yeah, I've got a couple of yellow pages below me.
Must have shrunk during
Some
the game.
platform shoes
It was all
ready
the
for the
stress of
karaoke.
getting
I have
old,
to
just
be honest
stretching.
Get them three off, because anybody that does a hit at 5:30 in the morning needs looking at.
Hold on, I want to know what the song of choice is going to be. What's the song of choice going to be?
Song of choice at the karaoke, Dan?
I don't know. It was Angel. I can't do Angels again. It's getting a bit repetitive. I have to find something else in the repertoire.
Well, it never stops you with your questions.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Never stops you with your moaning, so there you go.
I've got a big one there, look.
Well, it's not so big. It's not so big.
All right.
Well, but listen, you've done a sterling job out in Madrid, I have to say. We've missed you.
Should we let them go? Seeing
Why
they
is he
got this,
dragging it out?
this 5:30 hit. Should we let them go?
Yeah, they've got to get some sleep now. 5:30.
That's
I'll
early.
Do a hit because
Any final words, Robbo?
Yeah.
About the final?
No, just in life.
Oh, just in life. Turning left. That's what I can say.
turn
Yeah,
left.
got to turn
Good.
left.
Hey.
Next time, no Marcotti in the boat.
I mean,
That's
5:30. Are they the
word.
fire squad?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
honest.
you know.
What do you call the fire brigade?
The fire brigade.
Correct,
Yeah, the
yes.
fire brigade. Switch your phone off, lads.
All right. Well, for those of you who are up early enough, catch those three intrepid